Hey guys, it's GirlGotGame. Welcome to our final episode of Cinderella Phenomenon Evermore, where we are going to do Waltz's good ending, and then we're done. I cannot believe this is where we are in the stream of time, but here we are. So, we are in chapter 1, and we're going to start picking our opposite choices to see what happens. So this time, we're going to tell him not to wait for us today. I am not sure how long this will take, and I do not want you waiting up like last time.
Lucette, you know I don't mind waiting for you.
But I do. Waltz furrows his eyebrows at me.
Well, if you insist. Just don't push yourself too hard, okay?
I'll try. No, sorry, Waltz. I could have actually done fast forward. Let's just do... Okay, so he didn't meet us in town this time. Interesting. As soon as I return to the palace, I head back to my room, papers in hand. I enter quietly. The room is still lit, but I am unsurprised to see Waltz has already fallen asleep. He lies face down on the bed, feet dangling off the edge. It looks as if he collapsed in a fit of exhaustion. I do not regret telling him not to wait up for me. Magic lessons are tiring. He really needed the rest. I smile as I walk over to the bed and carefully throw a blanket over Waltz. I lean down to plant a soft kiss on his forehead. Sleep well, Waltz. That's very sweet. I mean, not as cute as you guys spending the day together. But you know what? Or the evening. But still. This time I'm not going to get any treats for the kids. I seat myself on a bench and watch Waltz tell his story. Today it is a tale about a mighty knight and a fierce dragon. A gaggle of children sit in a circle around him, completely absorbed. The children really do love him. Half an hour passes. At the end of the performance, the children swarm Waltz, clinging to him and begging for another story.
Sorry, guys, but it's a little too late for another.
The children groan and mutter dishearteningly. Aw, see, I distracted them last time with apples.
I promise that I'll make the next story even more exciting. But for now, you should be getting back to your parents so they don't worry.
I head over to the booth after the children have scattered, leaning over to look at Waltz, who is on the other side dismantling it. Hey, you. Waltz startles.
Lucette, what are you doing here?
I heard you were doing a show, so I came to watch. I loved the part where you roared like a dragon. Waltz laughs a little abashedly.
I'll have you know I've been perfecting that roar for a while.
He looks at me curious.
I would have invited you out, but I thought you had paperwork to handle.
I did, but Em insisted I take a break, so here I am.
She must have been very convincing.
He rises, materials in hand.
You should have told me you were here. I would have found a way to incorporate you into the show. The children love it when you show up as my assistant.
It has been a long time since I helped Waltz with one of his shows. I miss it. You were having so much fun. I didn't want to interrupt.
Next time you should. As a performer, I love working with spontaneity.
Noted. Next time, then. I hold out my hand and help Waltz up. Shall we head back? Aw, that was still nice. Alright, now I get to do the sing me a song.
Me sing?
I smile at him playfully. Aren't you a performer?
A performer of a different variety.
He mumbles something beneath his breath. Waltz, are you embarrassed?
Not embarrassed so much as horrified. I can't sing to save my life.
I laugh into his chest.
I feel like I failed you.
I kiss him gently on the shoulder. What, for not being talented at everything?
I try my best, little star.
I do not need a lullaby, Waltz. I don't need anything at all. Being here with you is good enough. Aw. So there is some things that he can't do. I felt like we had a good choice indicator happen after that, regardless. Maybe it didn't matter there. What did I pick here? I think I conceded? Yes, I did. I'm gonna protest. I cannot afford to take a break, Waltz. I have far too much to do. And you can't tell me to take time off when you will not do the same.
Lucette, it's not like this is a competition. I promise, everything will be fine.
You always say that. That everything will be fine. Not everyone can be as nonchalant as you, Waltz. The words come out more clipped than I anticipated. Waltz looked shocked.
Lucette, I'm not dismissing your enormous workload. I'm just trying to make it more bearable for you to tackle. Is there anything I can do? I want to help.
No, Waltz. You are already doing enough.
Then how can I...
Let me do my work at my own pace. I appreciate you trying to help me, truly, but taking a break will only stress me further, Waltz. I know myself best.
Of course.
In true Waltz fashion, he seems to shake off all the negativity easily enough. Poor Waltz. Sorry, she don't trust you to take care of her this time.
I know you'd rather get some work done, but I really think the bath will help you relax now.
If you insist.
I'm sorry if it sounded like I was belittling your efforts in any way, Lucette.
No, I spoke too sharply. I'm sorry, Waltz. It's...
The negative energy from the Tenebrarum, I know.
It could be that, or it could be my sleeplessness. Either way, Waltz does not deserve those harsh words. He is only trying to help after all. I appreciate you trying to help, Waltz. Waltz smiles feebly.
Always. I said I'd always be by your side, remember?
I could never forget. I'm really glad that they, apologize to each other immediately. That's really good of them. I spend the morning reviewing important paperwork from the royal advisors. At first it is not so difficult. I am used to sifting through all this jargon after all. But I underestimate how complex the proposed policies are, and eventually the words begin to blur as a headache throbs at my temples. Why must this be so needlessly complicated? Uh-oh. Ding, 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 ding. Okay. So this I'm gonna apologize. I have apologized to him so many times. Always he waves those apologies away. But in the wake of Mother's death, I am the only one who can try to make things right. I'm sorry, Waltz.
Lucette, please. You should never feel like you have to apologize for your mother.
For years, the townspeople thought I was just like her.
But you're not.
Perhaps. But that link to her. I still feel it, Waltz. For years I have apologized for my mother. I smile a little warily. I have become accustomed to it. I have a responsibility to uphold my father's legacy, but also to right my mother's wrongs. Waltz frowns at me.
No, you don't. You're your own person, Lucette. Your legacy is your own.
Somehow this has become about me, even though I was trying to make him feel better. Yeah, that's why I didn't pick that option the first time.
Please, no apologies, okay?
I'm sorry, Boo. I should have comforted you.
I know you said you were busier earlier, but this won't take up too much time, I promise.
Much to my chagrin, I find I cannot resist his adorable, endearing smile. Fine, if you insist. Let's go. Watch the stars. And now I have to say, 0 children would be preferable. Poor Waltz. You can just, ever so faintly in the distance, hear his heart shattering into a million pieces. Oh no.
No children.
I know that it is an irresponsible answer. My goodness, I totally fluffed that. Let's try that again. I know that is an irresponsible answer. There needs to be an heir to the throne after all, but... Waltz, how am I to know if I will be a good mother? My own parents were rarely there for me in the ways that mattered most. What if I am just like them? I can barely keep my own priorities straight, even now. I'm scared. Waltz presses his hand to my cheek and gently turns my face toward him.
You could never be like your mother, Lucette. You know what it's like to yearn for a better life. I know you wouldn't make someone else live that life. And don't forget, I'll be here with you every step of the way.
Perhaps someday, then. If I am to bring a child into the world, I want to make sure it is the safest world I can create. I want to be ready for that kind of responsibility. That was nice. That was really nice, too. That's a perfectly valid fear for her to have. Okay, so this time I'm going to agree with Waltz and not agree with Cinna. Even if I wanted to, I could not speak to everyone. Waltz is right. It is not my responsibility to speak directly with criminals until they are put on trial.
And I'm more than happy to interrogate the witches with Delora and deliver the reports myself.
Cinna scoffs.
You'll never solve the problem like that. You're the one who's meant to lead the witches, Your Majesty.
Lucette isn't just a Tenebrarum Bearer. She's the Queen of Angielle. She has a lot more to balance than just her obligations to the witches.
It takes a group effort, Cinna. A group effort. It's true. Mother ruled on her own. Everything she wanted, she took. I would never make such momentous decisions without conferring with those I trust. But it is undeniable that some witches see me as a usurper, even if the Tenebrarum did accept me all those years ago. I have to prove to them that I do hear them somehow.
Lucette, why do you have that look on your face?
It's because she knows I'm right. It may take a group effort, but a group still needs a leader.
Dang. Well, you're welcome, mic drop. Oh, Cinna.
I think Cinna brought up a good point today, but let's not forget he doesn't know what your workload is like.
Please, Waltz. Let me make my own decisions. If interrogating these criminals is too time-consuming a task for me, or yields no results, then I will leave it to you and the other witches. But for now, let us work for the witches together, Waltz.
When I said I wanted to spend more time with you, this isn't what I had in mind.
Sorry, Boo. I'm kind of forced into this route, unfortunately. This time I just say it's none of your business instead of defending my boy. I came here to speak with you about your crimes.
So you'll turn a blind eye to blood already spilled, because you prefer ignorance.
The longer I speak with this man, the more irritated I become. I pinch the bridge of my nose and let out a sigh. I am done speaking about this.
If Lady Hildur had still been queen, she wouldn't have turned away from all this. She was, and will always be stronger than you, halfling.
He has some nerve. It is all I can do to brush off his words. If you will not speak to me about the arson attack, we are done here. The witch turns away with a scoff. Well, that wasn't very, productive at all. Alright, I'm not gonna like this choice either, but here we go. You already know what my response is to that.
I know. It meant the world to me that you thought I was one of the good witches, even back when we were children. Even if I was lying to you.
Waltz, I was a child. We were both children. I would never begrudge you keeping those things a secret from me to protect me. But now I am older, wiser. I know what it is my mother did, and what you had to suffer at her hands. Okay. Is that it? Not much change there. Interesting. I will show them I am better than Mother. Lucette, the corrupted witches are few and far between. You have the support of most of us. You were chosen by the Tenebrarum, after all. Even so, it means nothing if I am not actively showing the witches what I am doing to help them. Besides, the townspeople often forget I myself am a witch. I think it would be good to remind that I have that blood in my veins.
I think that's a good idea. But I also think you don't need to compare yourself to your mother. People know you're better than Hildyr, Lucette.
You saved Angielle from her. You worked with Parfait to bring this conflict to an end. But I am still her daughter.
That has no bearing on the situation. You inherited the Tenebrarum from her, maybe, but you couldn't be any more different from her.
Still, my mother actively sought out the counsel of other witches and made an effort to hear them. I feel I should do the same thing, just in a different way. Alright. Well, Claude, Lance, it's your lucky day. I pull the chocolate box out of the bag and set it on the table. You can have these chocolates.
Your Majesty, we can't accept this. It's a gift.
There is no need to worry. This is not a gift for Waltz. Consider this my spontaneous welcome treat.
Are you sure, darling?
Would you refuse a gift from a queen?
Never. Thank you, Lucette. Yes, thank you very much, Queen Lucette.
While the two princes express their gratitude, Cinna leans forward and takes a truffle from the box. He pops it into his mouth without ceremony. I offered it to them, tiny lord. Cinnamon!
Is this from that stall with the chocolate flowers on display?
He pauses to consider.
It's good, but nothing like the chocolatier they have in the Western Plaza.
You can't just go around trying other people's gifts, Cinna.
There's more than enough here for everyone.
What a rude boy. Okay, so I used a deflector last time. I'll use a shield. I've been told this answer does not matter. It's the only one I didn't get a right choice indicator for in the best end, but I'm gonna pick the other one anyway just to see what it says. It is the first answer that pops into my head. After all, I have been conditioned to use shields far more often than deflectors, which can harm people. I cast my barrier just in time as Waltz's magic comes rushing toward me. I hold my ground as the magic touches my barrier, and does not even leave a dent. I sigh inwardly. I should have used a deflector for that one, most likely. Even Waltz looks a little surprised. I just ruined his lesson, didn't I? But Waltz is good at improvising. He knows how to make my mistake a part of the lesson.
Do you all see what the Queen did? She used a shield to show us that the spell I cast was a weak one. You see how it didn't leave a single dent in her barrier? That means she could have used a deflector. But
He holds up a finger.
it's better to avoid deflectors altogether if you can. Reflecting someone's magic back at them is dangerous. Overall, a barrier is the best way to keep others from being hurt. Understand?
The children all nod and begin to mumble amongst each other. Waltz turns to me.
Making me think on my toes tonight, I see.
Yes, that is exactly what I meant to do. It's interesting, because both instances he's like, the shield is safer for everyone involved, but that wasn't the right answer. Oh well, whatever.
The reason you used a shield tonight. Stage fright.
He says it jokingly, but the words still make me blush. It has been a long time since I've cast a deflector. My apologies for forgetting in the moment.
You don't need to apologize, little star. We still got a great lesson out of it.
He steps forward, closing the distance between us.
It was great to have you here. It reminds me of simpler times.
Simpler times, when the two of us were focused entirely on magic and what the next day would bring. We were so focused on the present then. It was difficult to consider the far future.
And now all we ever think about is the future.
Do you think so? I think we do not think on it enough. I was going to say, I think most of this read was about the past. Waltz looks at me curious.
Oh? Why do you say that?
Because I need to propose? That segue. So I think I said you can make a difference now. So this time, there is nothing you could have done. Are you regretting the past again? Waltz holds up his hands in surrender.
In all fairness, I can't control what I dream about.
I hope you realize you had nothing to do with Myth's corruption. My mother was using you both as pawns. You did not have a choice in the matter.
No, we didn't. Hildur knew exactly how to manipulate us. Don't look so sad, little star. There's no changing the past, but we can both do our best to enact change in the future, right?
Right. Which is basically what I said the other time. And the song will be like, I don't believe that's true. Everything I do is a step toward obtaining peace.
If anyone can bring about peace, it's Her Majesty.
The witch scoffs.
You're both foolish. You can try all you like to broker peace, but you'll never obtain it. Mark my words.
Think what you will of my efforts, but I do not think it is foolish to hope.
I still think it's dumb, but alright.
Thanks for having my back, Fritz. And speaking of Fritz, how about croissant? Fitzgerald mentioned that there were some chocolate almond croissants in the stall by the fountain.
Fitzgerald, were you talking to him about the promotion today?
Something like that. Waltz raises an eyebrow. Sus.
I've tried a lot of things over the years, but never a chocolate almond croissant.
Then this will be a good opportunity to do so. I take Waltz's hand and pull him toward the central plaza. Hopefully Waltz doesn't have a nut allergy. It is not difficult to spot the stall Fritz mentioned. The floral top stands out amidst all of the other plain colors, and the shelves are filled with delicious-looking croissants. My mouth waters as we approach. The croissants are dusted with sugar and look both flaky and soft. They are big enough to share. Your Majesty! The stall owner bows as I approach. Your speech today was inspiring. She glances at Waltz. As was yours, Lord Waltz.
Thank you.
Are you here today for a croissant? The woman gestures toward her mouth-watering display. Take whatever you like. I peruse the shelves intently. There are an assortment of flavors I've never tried before. Croissants containing all manner of chocolates and jams and fillings.
We're looking for the almond chocolate, I think. A friend of ours recommended it.
The baker smiles broadly. Your friend wouldn't happen to be Lord Fitzgerald, would it? The woman laughs at my surprise. He's here all that time that night. I'm selling out yet today, but normally I sell croissants out of my shop. Sir Fitzgerald is one of my best customers. The baker hands us a wrapped croissant. She refuses payment when I try to give it to her. Please, this is the least I can offer you, Your Majesty. Waltz and I sit by the fountain to share our dessert. He looks thoughtful as he rips a piece of the croissant off. He pops the piece into his mouth and, after a few moments, sighs contentedly.
Oh, this is delicious.
I take a bite of the croissant and marvel at the buttery softness of it. The taste is exquisite. This really is amazing.
Maybe, since I've shared enough of my favorites, we should ask around for recommendations from others.
But you give the best recommendations.
There's always room for more, though.
Aw. Well, at least he enjoyed the croissant. Oh, I think we're in chapter 6 now.
Protect our kingdom. I will always be with you.
I still have a long way to go before I can become the ruler Angielle needs, but I am proud of my progress. I hope you are proud of me too, Father. I stand before Father's coffin, fingers resting on the majestic statue posed behind it. I angle my head up to look at Father's face, at the likeliness forever captured in stone. He looks tranquil.
Lucette.
Waltz still stands by the entrance where he has been waiting for me. Now I realize he is no longer alone.
Hello, dear.
Aw, you came to visit too. Oh, that got me. Whoa, Ophelia. Hello, Ophelia. Are you here to speak with Father? I can leave if that is the case.
Oh no, please stay.
I cast a look back at Waltz. He just smiles and shrugs, which I take as a sign that we still have some time before today's excursion. Ophelia sets a white lily on the coffin. I assume it is from the anniversary celebration a few days back.
Hello, dear. You missed a wonderful anniversary celebration last week. I'm sure Lucette has already filled you in on most of the details, but I wonder if she's told you yet that she recently married.
I already told him that.
Good. I thought he'd enjoy that story more coming from you.
The two of us stand there for a few moments, looking quietly at the stone statue of my father. Ophelia sets her hand on the statue's foot, a forlorn look in her eyes.
He would have been so happy to be at your wedding, Lucette.
I wish he could have been.
Back when he was alive, not a day went by that he didn't speak about how much he wished he could reconnect with you.
And I shunned him.
He never held that against you, Lucette. He blamed himself for distancing himself for all those years. He called it his greatest mistake. He was smiling in the end, wasn't he? When he passed.
Tears come to my eyes unbidden. I wipe at them hastily with the back of my hand. He entrusted me with the kingdom and said he would always be with me. How I wish we could have spent more time together before you passed, Father.
Lucette.
Ophelia sets a hand on my shoulder and squeezes.
Gennaro is proud of you. Of that I am certain.
How do you know?
Because I am proud of you, and we agreed on almost everything.
Oh, trying to keep the waterworks back. The words infuse me with warmth. I wipe the last of the tears from my eyes and smile. The effort is much belated, but I am glad we could talk like this, Ophelia.
Likewise. It's an honor to be here for the Queen of Angielle.
She steps away, a thoughtful look on her face as she glances between Waltz and I.
You have somewhere to be, don't you? I won't keep you.
Thank you, Ophelia.
There's no need to thank me, dear. You know I'll always be here if you need me.
The last thing I see before I leave the room is Ophelia's fond smile trained on my father's coffin. The love she has for my father shines unfettered in her eyes. I see now that their love was true. I am glad they had each other. Waltz offers his hand as I near the exit. And I am glad I have Waltz. I could not imagine ruling Angielle without him. The two of us walk through the tunnels until we reach the surface. It makes me sad because I realized that Gennaro and Ophelia didn't really have a lot of time together in the canon route before he died. Thank you for waiting for me.
Of course.
Next time I speak to Father, you ought to join in. I think he'd appreciate hearing your perspective on things.
My perspective?
On events like the wedding.
Oh? All I'd be doing is telling him how beautiful you looked on the altar. The way your eyes glimmered when you took my hands, and your cheeks became all rosy when I leaned forward to...
Never mind.
Your embarrassment is endearing as always.
We turn from one corridor into the next and nearly bump into two familiar faces in passing. Ah, Lucette!
Aren't you both supposed to be in town?
Well, hello to you too.
Good afternoon. Sorry, Lucette, we've been...
Searching for the princes.
Rod puts a hand to his forehead and sighs.
Oh, apparently they challenged each other to a very serious game of chess this morning.
Ah, I see Claude lost out on the sword fighting part of that. Emmeline, I bet you were asked to pick the duel, and you picked chess because Lance would have a better chance.
They said it was a brotherly tournament and they didn't want spectators, but...
Em wants to watch Prince Lance play.
You're curious too, Rod.
I am, but I'm going to watch the game, not a certain someone.
That's not fair.
Regardless of the reasons, it sounds like a good time.
These two.
It will be. Do you want to join us?
Unfortunately not. It's about time Lucette and I set up for our show.
Oh, are you going to do a puppet show? Is that how it's going to end? I'd love that.
Oh well, maybe next time then. I think it would be nice if we all sat down to a game before Rod and I left.
Things have been so busy recently that I forgot about Emmeline and Rod's imminent departure. For the last few days, the two of them have been preparing to go to Brigantia for a 1-month vacation. They will be gone within the week. When I insisted Ophelia go with them, she declined, insisting she wanted to stay here to help me run things. I would like that very much.
Then we'll talk to the princes about it.
Emmeline grabs Rod by the sleeve and tugs him forward.
Come! We have to find them before the game ends.
Otherwise, you won't be able to cheer on Prince Lance.
You'll just have to cheer for Prince Claude to balance things out.
Not gonna happen. Rod releases a long, suffering sigh as Emmeline lugs him behind her. She turns back only once to wave at us before disappearing down the corridor.
Things are going to be less lively without them here.
I agree. Walt smiles at me. The curl of his lips is alarmingly mischievous. What?
I was just thinking how much livelier these halls would be with children.
Every time he mentions children, I become flustered. As we take steps to make our ideal future a reality, we come closer every day to the possibility of having children. But... it will be. Someday. Waltz nods.
Indeed.
I am not ready for children, not yet. Waltz is, as always, extremely laissez-faire about the situation. I am relieved he never pushes me to go beyond whatever pace I feel comfortable with. Good on you, boy. Waltz holds out his arm. I rest my hand on the crook of his elbow and let him lead me into town. He's just gonna remind you every once in a while, like, you know, kids would be nice, don't you think? The lily decorations from a few days ago still litter the plaza when we arrive. It looks as if the town has survived a storm of flower petals. It is beautiful. Waltz and I wave to the townspeople as we wander. Knights trail us from a distance, watching the proceedings with smiles on their faces. They only pause when someone rushes toward us.
Your Majesty!
Oh, hello. A witch, a familiar face, stands before me.
Good day, Your Majesty!
This witch is one of the candidates who came to speak with me in the throne room about the council position a few days ago. For years, she owned a potion shop in Angielle and came to the tavern to discuss important political affairs with Delora and Parfait. Good day. How can I help you? The witch looks jittery, but less so with nerves and excitement.
I received your correspondence the other day.
Ah, that.
Your Majesty, I am honored you selected me to serve on your council.
The witch curtsies low before me. Please, that is unnecessary. It will be my honor to have you. Last night, Waltz and I were up late looking through vetted applications for the council positions. We sent letters to those we knew were immediately qualified for the job. This witch was one of them. She received personal commendations from Delora and many of the other witches working around the palace.
I wanted to thank you in person, but I can't put into words how grateful I am.
Please, you do not need to thank me. I am looking forward to working with you during our upcoming meeting.
Likewise.
The witch bows to me again and then to Waltz.
You've come a long way, Waltz Cresswell.
I owe it all to Lucette. She's my greatest inspiration.
You give me too much credit.
Nonsense, it's the truth.
The witch excuses herself with another deep curtsy before leaving us. You saved Angielle all those years ago without my help, you know.
But you were the driving force behind that goal. You always have been, Lucette.
Waltz leads us the rest of the way to the plaza and to a very familiar booth. Senna stands beside the puppet booth, a hand on his hip. He is surrounded by children, all of whom clap and cheer when Waltz appears. Senna glares daggers at us.
You owe me for this.
Of course. If you stay through the show, I'll buy you a cinnamon roll afterward for setting things up for us. Was that not the deal?
Fine.
He can never say no to cinnamon rolls. Senna huffs out the word before turning to join the beginning together. The beginning together? Turning to join the beginning together. Okay. This is Waltz's performance time. They know to expect him here at this time on this day. But it has been a long time since I, his assistant, have joined him. Waltz gestures me behind the booth and hands me a puppet as I slide in next to him.
You ready for this, little star?
I will follow your lead, Waltz.
Then, let's begin.
Waltz draws back the curtains on his booth and smiles broadly as the audience claps.
Hello, everyone. I, Waltz, am here once again to share another story with you. Today, I'll be joined by my most spectacular assistant, Queen Lucette, the Tenebrarum Bearer.
There are more cheers and excited chatter. It has been a while since I joined Waltz here. I hope I do not disappoint.
Today, we'll be telling you the story of the Witch Queen, a kind-hearted woman who faced and overcame many obstacles.
I hold up my puppet. It is embarrassingly a puppet I made to look like me. I want the final CG to be Puppet Lucette and Puppet Waltz, please. Before, Waltz used puppets to tell me stories. He thought this would be a great way to help children understand my story. I agreed to help him act out the story, but on the condition he share his story as well. I watch now as Waltz takes out his own puppet, one I haphazardly sewed to look like him. The two of us worked on them quickly during our recent break. They are not the most well-made creations, but they will suffice. Yep. They look just like you guys. Oh, it's perfect. I'm choking. Oh, I'm so sorry. Waltz's puppet's hat is so funny to me. It's making me cry. Oh, it's so good. Okay, yes, continue. Waltz leans close enough to whisper to me.
Don't be nervous, little star.
I am not nervous. Waltz squeezes my hand beneath the booth.
Here we go.
The story opens up in the palace with a young witch who has just lost everything. His family, his home, his heart. But then the witch meets a princess that helps guide him to find happiness again. Even though my memories of the past are muddy, I find myself speaking clearly and without hesitation during the puppet show. I play my role well enough that people are entranced. But then I realize, this is not a role. This is me. For the first time, I am telling people my story. Many other characters make an appearance in the puppet show, including a snarky witch mentor and a kind fairy with an enchanted broom. It is a long show. By the time we are done, the moon hangs in the sky and we are using lantern light to illuminate our stage. And, in the end, the witch and the princess
lived happily ever after.
The response is startling. I look up to see that the crowd has doubled in size over the last few hours. People sit on benches and tables, on chairs, and on the edges of the fountain. I feel suddenly exposed, like I have bared my heart. But I also feel free.
You okay, little star?
More than okay. I think this might be the happiest I've ever been. Waltz slides toward me, and in clear view of everyone, places a tender kiss on my lips.
Glad to hear it, my queen.
And what about you?
Couldn't be better.
The two of us stand to take a bow. Waltz, the future king of Angielle, and I, the queen of Angielle, bowing before our citizens. I may be queen, but I am only here because they have accepted me. I smile as their applause grows louder, until it fills the streets and beats in time with my own excited heartbeat. I still have a long way to go as a ruler, but with Waltz by my side, I am optimistic about all the good we can do. I glance up at the stars scattered across the ebony sky. Do you see me, Father? Mother? I will not stop working to protect the people you cared so deeply about. I promise. Waltz squeezes my hand again. It is my final cue. I turn to my audience, my people, with a smile, and I take one final bow. Thank you all for accompanying me on this journey. What a great way. I'm so glad I did the good ending last. Avid reader. And I think avid reader is doing all the ends. And story time. Story time, story time. Oh my goodness. I'm so happy. That final line was just a perfect way to end this playthrough. Oh my goodness. That was so lovely. So good. I'm sad that we were very cold towards the Waltz. But we had a very cute ending. Heart-rending moment with stepmom. And a lovely puppet show with our boy. It was perfect. I'm so pleased and so sad because we're done. That's it. No more. My throat's dying because I'm stuck up on all emotions and things. Oh my goodness. I love that so much. Well, now I get the unenviable task of solidifying my list and putting it out into the world. That would have come out tomorrow. Hold on a second. Has this always flashed? How come it's like flashing? I'm like suspicious of it now. Okay. Apparently it's nothing. I'm just like, is there something I'm missing there? Okay, thank goodness. Yes, it would normally have come out tomorrow, but I have been asked to do a cover of the opening song for Cinderella Phenomenon Evermore, so that is coming out tomorrow first. And my final thoughts will be coming out Monday, so if you would like to join me for both of those things, or either of those things, I would be most appreciative. But yeah, either leave your final thoughts here in this video or in my final thoughts video on Monday. I'd love to hear how your list ended up looking out and what you thought of the game in general. And yeah, thank you for joining me on this journey, guys. It was a lot of fun. Alrighty, well with that, until next time, guys, I will see you later.